This is how to set up your bookkeeping so you can easily track your income and expenses as an interpreter. So first you'll want to set up your business bank account. I call this a business bank account, but if you don't have an EIN, you usually can't open a business type of account. So what you can do instead is open a personal, like a regular checking account, but only use it for the, depending on what bank you use, some banks may not like if you use a personal account for business purposes. So this just really depends. You would want to check with your bank first just to avoid any issues in future. But some banks are okay with this, so again, it's good to check with them. But the point is, you want to open a bank account to use just for your business, not the one you use already to pay for like your personal expenses like groceries or groceries, your house payment, rent, gas, whatever. You want to have that in its own account. So first you'll open this account for the business. You have a checking account. You can have a savings account to have savings for the business. It's always good to have savings for your business, just like for your personal finances. You can also open a credit card if you want to use one to pay for expenses. If you want to have multiple accounts, such as Profit First. So if you read Profit First, that method uses more than one checking account to store your funds, and so that's something you can do as well. But again, just to start off simple, one checking account just for the business. So next, you need to decide on your bookkeeping software. How are you going to track your income expenses? I recommend software and not a spreadsheet because a software will automatically sync to your bank account. And that saves you time. You don't have to go and get the transactions, download them to a spreadsheet, and then try to track. Yes, there are ways to sync your bank account to a spreadsheet automatically and do a sync. If you want to, you can do that. I'm not saying don't use a spreadsheet. I'm just saying eventually the spreadsheet becomes more time consuming, and if you don't keep up with it, it doesn't serve you. So you want a software that will sync to your bank accounts. You also want one that will let you categorize types of income, types of expenses. Again, you can do this in a spreadsheet, but software will let you set up rules to do this quickly so you can keep up with it without spending too much time. You also want a software that will generate a profit and loss for you, as well as a balance sheet and a cash flow statement. So you also want software that will let you enter invoices so you can track when you send an invoice, when you're supposed to get paid, and if you haven't been paid yet and it's overdue. You also want a software that will let you enter bills if you pay contractors, or if you do have bills which are business expenses that you purchase them now but pay later and it's not on a credit card. Then you need to use bills. And so you want a software that lets you enter bills so you can track when they're due and if you've paid them or not. And then just a few options that make doing your books easier. Here we go. So these are optional features that will make your life easier, but you don't have to have them. So if you can get a software that lets you send the invoices and receive payment directly in the software, that's great. Also, seeing your balance sheet, I call it optional because you technically don't need it as a sole proprietor interpreter, but it's really handy and useful to have one to see like how much you put in the business, how much you've taken out to pay yourself. It's really handy, but I've put it under optional. And then also a software that will track what you paid contractors for 1099s. This one is fantastic if you can get a software that does it for you, because 1099s can be tricky depending on what you use to pay contractors. And I'm not going to get into all 1099s right now, but basically if there's a software that will track that for you, that's gold because it can get complicated. If you don't pay anyone, any contractors, there's no one you need to issue 1099s, then this is optional. You don't need it. Okay, so, oh, you know what? I put this in the wrong section. I'm so sorry. That goes under here. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, what softwares do I recommend? Well, the first one that comes to mind is Wave, because I used it back when I was interpreting, and I finally decided to stop using spreadsheets. Wave was free back then, so it was great. It was just enough what I needed. I had tried QuickBooks Self-Employed or what that I didn't understand it, and so I ended up like canceling that subscription and going back to spreadsheets, and then I discovered Wave, and that was perfect. Now Wave is not free anymore if you want to get the bank sync, which is the whole point of the software. So Wave is still a good option because you can also send invoices and receive payments on them inside of Wave, which is really handy. You don't need a different like Stripe or Venmo like account. But there are other good options. FreshBooks is one that I've seen and heard good things about, so that one's good too. You can also send invoices and get paid with FreshBooks. There is also Zoho Books. I haven't personally used, but you can look into that and see if it like meets these criteria. There is QuickBooks. QuickBooks has like self-employed and the freelancer options. I don't recommend those until QuickBooks makes it, because usually QuickBooks cuts off some of the functionality of those, and so it makes it hard to either upgrade to a different level if you need to, or they don't make like invoicing available sometimes at the lower subscriptions, or entering bills if you need that, or entering like vendor names, which you do need to track contractor payments like manually. So I would say for lower QuickBooks subscriptions, might not be worth it. You have to look into what you get. But if you get like QuickBooks Simple Start, again, that can be maybe too much. So QuickBooks is kind of like a question mark. It's like, it depends. What do you need? Because that might be too much for you. Like, you could be paying for more than what you need, and then it might still be missing features that maybe like Wave or FreshBooks will have for less. Okay, so that was a long explanation, but basically it depends. Next, you want to set up your document storage. And so all this means is you want to have one place that you're going to store all business documents. All business documents, such as like your EAN paper, if you became an S Corp, letters from the IRS, your account statements, any statements, anything related to your business operations. You want all that in one place so you can quickly find it when needed. So first, decide on where you want to store your documents. A lot of people use Google, so Google Drive's a good option. If you use Microsoft, there's OneDrive. You can also use Dropbox. There's so many, but basically I recommend one that is in the cloud, because then you can access it from like a PC, from your device, like your phone or a tablet. So it makes it easy to get all your documents there. Next, I would say, once you know where you're storing it, create a folder in that called Finances. Okay, make it easy. And next, you want to upload all your documents to that folder. Decide the method, create the folder, upload all your documents to this folder. Depending on how long you've been in business, this might take a while because you'll have to find all the documents, and if they're not already digital, scan them, take a picture with your phone, and then upload them to the folder. And then number 4 is really optional. If you have the brain space to get more organized, then you can create folders for each type of document. But if you don't have the brain space for that, or you want to do it later, then you can skip this because it's optional. Don't need to do this. And so I'll leave the optional here. So it's in this gray box. And So first we're going to make a folder for each item. So how are we going to name these folders? So first make a folder called Business Information Documents, and that one's just going to include all of your information documents. Next, then you'll make a folder for each bank account and each credit card account. And if you have a loan, you make one for the loan. If you have like Venmo, you make one for Venmo. So this is an example of the folders I was mentioning. So you can create a folder for your bookkeeping records. I suggest finances, but you can use something else if that's clear for you. And then you could just dump everything into this folder. That's fine. If you want to get a little bit more organized, then is an example. You can make one for, oops, not that one. New folder. Alright, so you can make one for your bank statement. So let's say that Chase 123, Chase checking. So I'll just create one for that. And let's say you have your Chase credit card. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and then your business formation documents. Oops. And then you can do one for your receipts. There you go. Alright, and then you can have these 4 that will keep things very organized, and it also keeps it simple. When I'm doing clients cleanups and setting up a folder for them, I usually have more folders because there's more. I have a system set up to track the information so that it's easy for me to find exactly what I need. But in your case, you probably don't have too much going on. So this would probably work, and then over time, if you do need to add more organization, then you can. So this is all about storing your business formation documents. So after you set up your folders to store your documents, then you want to upload all those documents. So first, I would start with uploading your business formation documents. This on the screen is an example of if you did get an EIN, this is what that letter would look like. So anything like this, like an official letter from the IRS, a loan schedule, like something from your bank about your business account, anything related to setting up your business, then you want to store it in that folder. So just upload it to there. If it's just paper, scan it, and then upload it, and that way you have a digital copy and a paper copy. And the reason you want to store these is because if you open a new business account, if you open, like basically anything to do with opening a new account or something to do with your business, they usually ask for one or multiple of your business formation documents. So it's good to have them and know where they are so you can access them quickly. So after you upload your business formation documents, then you want to store any documents that you have for the current year so far. So let's say you're setting up your books, like you graduated in May and you're working, you've been working for a couple months and it's now, let's say you work June, July, so it's now August. And now you're getting things set up and you want to get like your books organized and ready to maintain for the rest of the year. So you have like June and July bank statements. If you're using like Venmo, you've got June and July also. So you want to take those records and store them in your finances folder in your online cloud storage. If you have like a full year, like maybe it's you started working like last year, and so you haven't done last year, and you need to do this year, then I recommend looking at my course on that's specific about catching up your books, like how to prep your books so you can finally file taxes without losing all your free time. And so I'll leave a link to that below this video. But yeah, so that one's more geared toward that. You could use this course and catch up your books also. You just need to gather all the statements, like in your business snapshot, get all the statements for that year and store them, and then, go from there. But I'm just going to focus on like you're just storing everything for this year. You don't need to file taxes yet, and you're just getting set up. So you can see on the screen there's a list. I say like upload bank accounts. I do have a pro tip: upload both, or get both the PDF and the CSV file. The CSV file is just in case you need to make an import somewhere, import those transactions manually, and so it's just good to already have it. Yes, you can convert a PDF to a CSV file. Usually involves some kind of software you might have to pay for, or a free one with like limited transaction amount. But yeah, just pro tip, get both. Same with any check images, deposit slips. You want to get those, save those, because your bank, yes, does keep records like your statements, check images, deposit slips, but it's usually limited. Some banks might be only a few years, and then it's gone. So if you ever need to go back and look at an older, like a prior year, your bank might not have it, it may not keep it for you. And usually for tax purposes, you need to keep documents longer than a few years, so just get it yourself. If you, or just don't use checks. Keep everything online, that makes things easy. So anyway, get the statements for all those accounts on your business snapshot. And then your payment processor, which should be on your snapshot list, but you want those reports. So for these, they might only be a CSV file. If there are PDFs, you want to upload those too. But you'll want a report that shows like your sales for the month and then the payouts deposited. And let me get an example so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is an example of if you're using Square, for example, like you're using Square to receive payments, and then Square will deposit the money into your bank account. So this is a summary of sales on Square. The reason you want to have this report is to see how much you made, first of all, and then Square will deduct a fee before they deposit in your bank account. So you want to know how much you made before the fee, and then what fee they charged you. And then Square also, I'll show you what the list of what they transferred to your account. And this basically, you can use this to check and make sure you got all the money they said you should have gotten. In bookkeeping, we always like to reconcile, so we make sure like what the institution, the financial institution says happened matches what actually happened in your bank account. So sales summary. This is just an example I got off of the internet. Looks like someone just is using their Square app on the phone, but on the PC it looks really similar. So it's going to show your what's called gross sales, so all your sales. Here it says 1, but it could be like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. And then if you gave any refunds, that will show up here. If you discounted anything, that number will show up here. And the net sales, so that's just basically all your sales minus refunds and discounts, that total. We normally don't use this gift cards as interpreters, but I guess you could. So then if you did, you sold any, that number would be here. Also, for if you charge sales tax, where I'm at, you don't charge sales tax for interpreting services, but if you do have to, then that amount you collected would show up here. And you would have to turn this on in Square. It doesn't automatically come. And usually any other payment processor usually have to go and update the setting to collect the percentage of sales tax that you want. If you don't do this, then you'll have to pay for sales taxes out of your own funds. So it's just better to turn it on so it's collected as you're earning, and then you can take that money you collected to pay sales tax. Okay, same for tips. We usually don't do tips, but if you did, that number would be here. And then any other refunds. And then total collected, this cash number, if you collected in cash, it would be here. We usually use card probably if we're using Square, so card would show how much was paid with card. And then did not realize when I got this example, it cut off the bottom, so there will be a part that says payout or deposited or net total. I think it's net total, but basically, or no, 2 things cut off. So fees, how much they charged in fees, how much they kept from your sales, and then how much was deposited into your account. So that total. Okay, so now let me show you what a Square, like a transfer. In Square, like it's called a transfers. Somewhere else they might call like a payouts report or deposit report. But basically, it's a list of all the money that Square deposited into your bank account or transferred to your bank account. So here I can say it's the month, and then the date that the transfer was made, and then the amount. So you can see, and it'll have a list. And so usually each one of these, if you made like had multiple money coming in from multiple customers at once or on the same day or maybe the same 2 days, then that amount might get lumped together and transferred to your account. So in Square or whatever app you're using, you can usually click into the transfer amount to see like what sales are included in that. So this report, I usually take a screenshot of it and download the push export for the CSV, because the CSV will show you each individual sale included, but it doesn't show you it doesn't show you as the lump sum deposit. There you go. And it's just easier to see the lump sum deposit, so I like the screenshot. Okay, so those are the payment processor or point of sale reports. Other statements that you'll want to find and store include if you've got, not if, but any invoices that you've sent, any record of those, and then and then a record of which ones have already been paid, just so you have it like in case you need it, just store that. And then any invoices that are still open. So I'm trying to think. I had several agencies who use like an invoicing portal, and so that one could have a report of which ones are still due to be paid. So you could download that report and save it just for reference. And then a report of what's already been paid, so we can download that one and save it just for reference. Right now, we're just like gathering all documents in one place. We might not need all of them, but it's just better to have it and not need it than to need it and be like, okay, let's interrupt my workflow to go find that document and then try to come back and get back in the mood. If you're like me, then yeah, that's hard. So same thing with bills. If you pay bills, you want the actual original bill, save it in your, upload it. And then trying to think, if like your subcontractors, you paid them, and if they send you like a record of like, yes, these bills have been paid, then you want to save that. And looking at if you have payroll or if you're on payroll, you want to save the reports for each payroll run or at least each month. And then any W-9s for subcontractors, you want to save those, obviously, because you'll need them. And then if you pay for any business expenses with cash, you'll want those receipts, because there's no way to prove what you paid for and how much you paid for it without the receipt, because it's cash, so it's not like it's not going to be on your credit card statement or anywhere. So, and you also want, if you use your personal account, like your debit card, and you pay for a business expense, I'm trying to think, like you pay for parking, but you didn't have the business card, so you use your personal card, then you want receipts for those things and just store them as well. So this is how to create a business snapshot. And so this business snapshot, I use it as a way to put all the information about your business in one place. And that way it just makes it easy for you or for a future bookkeeper or tax preparer that you work with to know at a glance what is all involved in your business financially. So the first page is your business information. The second one are the accounts involved in running your business. And then the third is where your money is going, people who you're paying regularly. And the fourth is who's paying you. regularly. So looking at this first page, the business information, and yes, you are a business. Um, so just, it's a mindset shift. You're not an employee, so you want to run this as a business, even as a individual, a sole proprietor. And this was something I also did not know when I graduated, that I was a business and I needed to run it like that. And so first thing is your business name. That can just be your name. Mine was just my name. EIN. You can get an EIN as an individual. I got one for my name, and that way I could use that instead of my personal social security to fill out W-9 forms or other tax forms that needed that identifying number. Entity type, generally you would be a sole proprietor unless you have set up an LLC, and which is still treated as an individual by the IRS for tax purposes. But if you elected to be treated as a corporation, an S corporation, then that information would be put here as well. Or if you started a C corporation, also that information would go here. But generally, most of us tend to stay as sole proprietors, or maybe an LLC as corp. Industry, you could type interpreter. Oops. Business address. If you're like me and just individual, don't have an office just from your home, you can leave this blank. If you do have an office address, great, you can fill that in here. Email address, what email do you use to run your business? What start date, so when did you start your business, start interpreting? Contact name, that would be you, like who do we contact to get in touch with this business. Phone number as well, if you have a business phone number, this is a good place to put it. If you have an accountant or tax preparer, like an EA, an enrolled agent, or some other person who does your taxes, you would want to put their company name or their name and their contact email here. You could even, put their phone number, contact phone number underneath there. That way you just have at a glance, like, you know how to get in touch with them. Or if you had a bookkeeper, then they would know how to get in touch with your accountant if they have any questions for them or clarification. Next page, let's look at the financial accounts involved in running your business. So usually you have a bank account, like a checking account. Could have a savings account. So you would want to list all of those accounts here. So let's say this is like a Chase. I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. I like to put the last 4 digits of the card in the name, because later on when you're looking at transactions, like in your software, like if you use QuickBooks or Wave, and it shows the last 4 digits, then you know like which account like that transaction is coming from or going to. So you would put Chase, and then this is a checking account, so you can just type and it'll fill it in for you. Let's say I have a savings account too. Chase savings, this one's 3456. Oh, let's see, not show this again. There you go. So this is a savings account. So we put savings, and I have a Chase credit card because I just like to keep everything Chase apparently. Chase credit card, this is 9870. Oh, just making up numbers. Credit card. Okay. And then usually that's it. I think when I was interpreting, I really just had the checking account and a savings account. I didn't have a dedicated business credit card, but I did use a personal credit card only for the business, which is fine. Like, if you don't have like the business EIN, you can't apply for business checking or savings accounts, and you definitely can't apply for that credit card, as far as I know. I'm not a financial planning expert, so you could ask them about that. But for what I knew, I couldn't, so I used a personal credit card only for business, and that's fine. So if that was true, like maybe this is a personal credit card, then in the notes section, it would be a good idea to write that down. Because again, in future, you might forget this. When you eventually switch to a real business credit card, you might forget, and so it's good to have this as a note for your future you, or future accountant, bookkeeper, whoever might be helping you out. So I'm going to write this note. So personal, credit card used only for the, only for the business. Okay, that's a good note to write. Okay, you would also want to list any loans that you use for the business. You can see up here it says payment processor, so that means anything like Square, Stripe, let's see, what's the other one that people really like? Venmo. And you want to list those because those are accounts used for the business. They're used for operating, so we want a snapshot of everything. So let's say I have a Venmo, and let's hope it's a business Venmo. But if it's, let's say it's a personal Venmo, so again, we want to put this down, personal Venmo account used only for the business. We do not want to mix, because then it just gets really messy later. And the goal of this is to make things easy for you later. So yes, for tax IRS purposes, you should not be mixing or using one account for your business and for your personal expenses. But, sorry, I get excited. But you also, for you, like, make it easy for you. Like, yes, IRS, you know, let's listen to them. But also, like, if you keep them separate, it makes things easy for you later on, like, to track. That was the one good thing I did when I started, when I graduated. I knew to keep things separate, and I followed that, and it made my life so much easier when it was, you know, March. It was almost April, and I needed to figure out what in the world did I make and spend. It was just easier because I knew everything in my checking account was only for the business, and that was just easy to sort through. Okay, so we need to label this. So this is, we're going to call it a payment processor. Okay, so usually we don't have loans. We don't take out a loan to start an interpreting business unless you're starting with something bigger than just one person. But if you did have a loan, you would want to include that here. Let's see, it looks like our, there, I like things to look the same, so we're going to do this. Okay. So let's say we have a loan. I'm just going to call it loan from, I don't know, Frost or something. I'm just going to put loan. Let's keep it generic. So this is a loan. And then you would want to put in notes, I like to put how much was the loan originally for, like how much did you get, what are the monthly payments, what's the interest. You can even create a whole new spreadsheet for this, and with the whole schedule if you don't have one already. I would recommend getting like a schedule of like each payment, how much in interest, how much in principal. So you should get something like that from whoever provided the loan. And so if you have that, then I would put, let's see, so loan amount, let's say you got, I'm just going to put a small amount, let's say 5,000. Don't show this again. Yes. So 5,000. And let's see, loaned on, date, loan amount, start date, there we go. What date did it start? I'm just going to put 01/01/24, keep things simple. And then, so I like to put amount, start date, that's good. End date, so let's say, let's just say it was going to end 6/30/24. You're just going to pay it back in 6 months. And then payments, monthly payments are, now I'm going to have to do math. You know what, to make this easy, I'm just going to put 6,000, that way each payment is 1,000. In this case, obviously there's no interest. Monthly payments. Obviously there's no interest, so I'll just put 0% interest. And then what I also like to do, if you do have that loan schedule or the documents, even for any of these, if there's like a drive that you store it in, I like to put the link. So I don't have a link, but I would just copy paste the link into here, because then it's a snapshot. You can just open up this place, click, and go to like wherever it's saved. But it just centralizes your information. Okay, let's see. So the other things on here, if you have any other accounts, you would fill that in. Now let's look at the next tab. So where your money goes. So if there's anyone you pay for professional services, maybe someone maintains your website, or if you have an email list and they take care of that for you, then you would want to put their name. And actually, we really want to put their business name. Let's see. Sorry, I was just going to add a new column. But you could do that yourself. I try to keep this simple, but you can add more columns as needed. So you would put the name of the business, or if you have interpreters who do jobs for you, you pay them to either be your to work with you or to go on jobs without you. Then you would put their names here as well, and then just a note, again, just for you, future you, in case you forget. Same idea for this next tab, but now it's not, instead of who you pay, it's who pays you. So this can be individuals, interpreting agencies, or if you've got money, maybe you have direct contracts with businesses to pay you for interpreting services, you would put their name here. And again, you can add more columns for this tab and the last tab. You can have columns of address, contact information, like phone number, email, as many columns as you want. I would recommend, if you're using software, like accounting software, store the information in there, because that's where you're going to be sending invoices, storing bills that you need to pay. So I would prefer to put things in there. And so here you would just put the name, just so you know, like you're not forgetting. And then maybe a note like, oh, contact information. Oops. Let's see. But contact information is stored in my Wave account or my QuickBooks account. Yeah, just keep things simple. So now we're going to talk about a chart of accounts. So you might have heard this term if you've looked at bookkeeping or even used software like QuickBooks, and they'll mention something called a chart of accounts. And so it's literally what's on the screen here. So you see, notice this column says account name. Make this a little bit bigger. So this chart is a chart of accounts, abbreviated COA. And you can see that up here. Let me write out the full title. Chart of Accounts, COA for interpreters. So each account is a category. So it's how we organize your transactions, so you know what type of income it is, what type of expense, which account did this money come out of or go into. So chart of accounts is literally a list of all the accounts we use to categorize and organize your financial transactions. Okay, so this list is one that I took my generic chart of accounts and adjusted it and tweaked it to be more specific to what an individual interpreter would need to use, because this can be long. So first off, you can see here we've got account number. So in most softwares, you can number the accounts. In accounting, for account numbers, there are specific numbers you use for each type. So 1, like you notice that this starts with 1, it's like an asset. If it starts with 2, we know it's a liability. If it starts with 6, we know it's an expense type of account. So for you, this isn't as important, but just so you know that they're there, they exist. You can also use your chart of accounts in your software and not use numbers. So that is an option. Okay, this row right here, I just use as a reference for me to just kind of quickly know where are my asset accounts, where are my income accounts. So this one is just like for me to know. So I'm going to highlight this as slightly gray, just so we know like this is not part of the chart of accounts. That's my reference column. Okay, so we got the account number, the account name, and so the name is usually descriptive. It tells us what is this account for. But it's short because we don't want too many words in there. We just want to glance at the name and know, oh, this is my business checking account, or this account tracks all my discounts I gave out. Then the type of account. Now this gets into if you're importing or you're using a specific chart of accounts in a specific software. And so these columns might change. So this list is used for QuickBooks, and so in QuickBooks they'll ask for the type of account and the detail type. If you're importing into a different software like Xero or Wave, you'll have to use their template for importing, and they might call things different or use different terms for like the type, or if they use detail type, they might use a different name. So this right here is specific to if you're importing your chart of accounts. And so I'm going to, I don't want to put it gray, but I'm going to put it pink. There we go. So specific to importing. So I added a note just so you can see that these columns are specific to the software you import this list into. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so if we are in Wave, and if you go to the accounting tab, it shows you what's called the chart of accounts. Sorry, it's a bit slow. And so right now, there's just what Wave automatically adds in here for some chart of accounts. So you can notice there's like this one called income and bonuses, interest income. So this is automatically in Wave. And QuickBooks, Xero, they usually have like accounts already in there, but you can change the name. So you can notice here it says, you know, click to edit, and you can change the name of it, the account type. And you can do that one by one, just add each of these accounts, or you can just go, so yeah, you can do it manually by clicking add a new account, or let me see. I believe in Wave you have to do it one by one, but in software like QuickBooks or Xero, you can take this CSV file, of course, customize it according to the import template, like on how they tell you to format it, and then you can just import the whole list. And so if you do that, I would recommend deleting all the default accounts and then just importing all the ones you want, like from this list. And then that's like a quicker way to get the chart of accounts you want set up. Okay, so what's the point of this chart of accounts? I know I said it's to help you organize and categorize transactions, but like, what does that look like? So I'm going to pull over an example financial statements. So first, let's look at the income statement or the profit and loss. It's the one we usually care about the most. I'm going to, let's see if I can move this over so I'm not in the way. Okay, so example income statement for ABC Interpreting. We can see their income, interpreting income. And so let me, side by side, let's do that. All right, so let me find the income. Look, interpreting income account. So this account tracks all our income. So every time in all our bank transactions, whenever we categorize a transaction as interpreting income, like we tell the software, this is interpreting income, it tracks it all. And so we can see it by month, by the whole year. You can use custom dates to see, like, I don't know if you want like from the 15th of one month to the 15th, say our interpreting income. Next, cost of goods sold. In accounting speak, it's basically, or not accounting speak, regular people speak. This is how much does it cost you to earn income? So direct costs. Now for service providers, we're not usually paying for shipping or to get things made. So this really for us is more of like cost of services. What does it cost to earn that income? provided, like the service provided. And so if you pay other interpreters to go on jobs, then that would be subcontract interpreters. So that would be a cost. Like if they didn't go, you wouldn't make any money. So that's a direct cost. So on this income statement, you can see here it says subcontract interpreters 1,000. And let's find it. I called it subcontractor payments here. Again, it's if you call it subcontractor payments instead of subcontract interpreters, you're not going to go to jail. No one's getting in trouble. As long as we can see and understand what this account is tracking, it's fine. And I just say that because before, when I was trying to use QuickBooks the first time, I had no idea what I was doing. I was so scared, like, oh my God, am I calling this right? Am I getting in trouble? What if I put this in like an office supplies and it's supposed to be office expenses? I was so scared. So no, you're not going to go to jail. It just needs to be clear. You can always change the name. Like, look, I'm going to change the name. So let's say, I'm going to call this subcontractor payments. I mean, obviously you wouldn't just copy paste in the software. You go into the software, go to the account, edit the name and change it that way. But yeah, it's fine, easy. So basically this is your income minus what you spent to earn that money, your gross profit, 4,000. Okay, so now you can see dues and subscriptions here, and that's here in this list as well on our chart of accounts. If you have insurance, interest expense should not be up here. Here, I'm gonna edit this. Okay, so I edited this. I prefer to see interest expense down here and other expenses because they are this is just like an accounting preference where we prefer to see things. You're not getting in trouble if it's up there. I think in Xero they actually include, or at least they did before, they might have updated it now, but usually interest expense is up there in the main expenses, so sometimes you don't always have a choice where it shows up. But my preference is it down here. And that's when, once you get used to what you're doing, you can start being like, hey, I prefer to see things a certain way. And then you can do that. Okay, so anyway, this is the whole point of the chart of accounts. It helps make your profit and loss easier to look at. So you can look at it and know like, oh, I spent $13 on insurance. Like it just makes it easier for you to see. And so you don't want too many accounts, but you also don't want too few that you can't really see where your money went. And that's why I'm just going to make this big again. For this chart of accounts, I have it's pretty short. If you'll, I know it might seem long to you, but this is actually shorter than my usual generic one. And so I will show you that one. Note that you don't need this one. This is an example of like how big it can be, but yours doesn't need to be this big. So I grayed out all the accounts that don't apply to you. They could, but they don't. And then this is still not as long as the list could be. It could be even longer. So fixed assets, machinery, equipment, we usually don't have those as interpreters. Payroll, we could have that again, or line of credits, but we usually don't. Payroll here again. Like I said, this could be a longer list, but it doesn't have to be. Make it as long as you need it to be and as short as you need it to be. Okay, so once you have your chart of accounts, you can put in your software, and then you're ready to go and actually start bookkeeping.